It's been over 5 years now since we first rode the Ather 450 and the company has continuously evolved and improved its product. Until this point, this is the latest, the greatest and probably the last iteration of the Ather 450 as we know it. It's called the Ather 450 Apex and there's some pretty interesting things happening underneath this very funky looking paintwork. Now the idea of the 450 Apex is a sort of celebration of the fact that Ather is now 10 years old. They took 5 years to develop their scooter and for the last 5 years they've been ramping up the business. Now speaking of business, this is not really a very big business proposition. It will not sell in big numbers and Ather knows that. This is more of a celebration, them having some fun, pushing the limits of this platform and trying to create some interesting user experiences for its customers. This will be a limited run scooter, not limited to numbers, but it will be manufactured for a limited time period, probably till about October 2024. The price is also on the high side and the 450 Apex will cost you 1.89 lakh rupees ex-showroom and it does not qualify for the FAME 2 subsidy. If you compare to a top-of-the-line Ather 450X, which is already an expensive scooter, this will cost about 30 to 40,000 rupees more on road, depending on what state you're in. So that's how much it costs, but now let's try and explain to you why this scooter costs that much, starting with the way it looks. It's a color called Indium Blue, and if you Google it, you'll find that it has a fascinating story. This is a pigment that was discovered in 2009, and it's the first new blue pigment discovered in over 200 years. That's the color of the body panels, but if you come over to the side, you'll see that the famous Ather transparent panel is back. This time around, it's more transparent than the last limited edition scooter, and it has a sort of glossy look on the outside, but a frosted look on the inside. Quite cool. And it exposes a funky fluoro orange frame, which is the same color that you'll see on the wheels, on this little badge out here, and on the chassis itself. Now this transparent panel is a really cool thing, but if you like your smartphones with a transparent panel, you know that those things generally age, they scuff quite easily, but Ather assures us that this will not happen here. This panel has a similar UV coating to what you get on a headlamp, and they say it will not yellow and it will be quite resistant to scratches as well. But if it was me buying this scooter for its exclusivity and its funky paint scheme, I think the first thing I would do is take it to a detailer and wrap the whole thing in paint protection film just to protect all this prettiness. Now aside from the cool colors, there is one other thing that's changed on the Ather 450 and it is this. The belt drive is now completely enclosed on the Apex model. This is again an example of how Ather listens to its customers. This is something customers wanted to keep protected, it improves durability, so they've done it on the Apex. But as far as I can understand, it looks like the swing arm has different mounting points for this, so I don't think it's going to be backwards compatible with the regular 450s. In fact, most of what you've already seen here and the technology that I'm going to talk to you about will not be backwards compatible with existing 450s. Now let's get to the fun stuff. Mechanically, the scooter is pretty much the same as what the existing Ather 450X is. You get the same chassis, same wheel sizes, more or less the same motor and battery pack, but the motor is now outputting about 10% more power. The reason Ather has done that is to let this scooter hit that 100 kph top speed that customers have been asking for the longest time. It will now do a top speed of 100 km per hour, and the 0 to 40 time has reduced from 3.3 seconds to 2.9 seconds. That added performance comes with a new mode called Warp Plus. This replaces the standard Warp mode on the 450X and it just gives you a little more acceleration. Now Warp was always really fun. At low speeds, 0 to 40, you whack the gas open and you literally get pulled back a little bit. This scooter does that a little more. It expands that zone where the acceleration feels really rapid up to about 60 km per hour. In this environment, doesn't really feel that shockingly fast, but on the streets, this will be a very quick and very fun scooter to ride. Now, speaking of on the streets, there is one other feature here that's really clever and Ather tells us has been very hard to engineer, and that should significantly improve your street riding. They call it Magic Twist. The idea with Magic Twist is it's essentially a regen mode on steroids. Now, Ather tells us that regen is a notoriously difficult thing to create a very consistent experience. It varies based on the state of charge of the battery, the speed, and it doesn't ramp down in a consistent manner. So when you come closer to a halt, the regen feels different to what it would be at mid-level speeds. The way cars get around this is that they use an electronic brake, and that hides the inconsistencies in regen. So when you lift off the pedal, the brake comes into effect and it smoothly brings the car down to a halt, which is what they call one-pedal driving. Now, Ather wanted to bring this one-pedal driving experience to scooters, where you can effectively stop if you need to without using the brakes. The way they've engineered this in is to create some really advanced algorithms and hardware differences that allow them to create a regen system that works right from 100% SOC all the way to the bottom and gives you a very smooth and consistent feel when you twist throttle in the other way. Again, the go-kart track is probably not the best place to experience this because you are going so fast that you will need to use the brakes. But what happens effectively when you reverse the throttle is that the scooter slows down much stronger than it normally would, and if you keep it pressed, it will come to a complete halt. In fact, we did get to try this feature out in traffic and it was actually quite useful. The system feels smooth and trustworthy, and once you get a hang of it, you will start using it a lot. In fact, I think you might get so used to it that your reaction time to grab the brakes in an emergency may get a little slower than normal. With that in mind, it's probably a good idea to keep the fingers of your left hand hovering over the rear brake lever just in case you need to panic brake. Nevertheless, this stronger regen has also resulted in a small improvement in the scooter's overall range. Now, Ather says that this system is still not completely up to the level that they'd like. They say that regen on scooters today can account for up to about 30% of braking scenarios, but this one takes it up to about 75% of various braking scenarios where it will work. They would like it to be up to 100% where you don't need to use the brakes at all. It's something they're working on. It's something they think they can achieve in about 2 years' time. And I think this is a feature that we will see on more upcoming scooters from Ather. That is effectively what makes the Ather 450 Apex. It's a special edition, a celebration edition. Ather says they're now at the limit of what this platform can give you within safe thermodynamic limits. And sure enough, when we were riding this thing hard around the track yesterday, it did seem to throttle the performance back a little more than we would have expected on a 450 Ather. It's definitely nowhere close to as bad as some of the competition, and this scooter does not drastically reduce the performance or automatically change into a lower performance mode. But you do notice a gradual step down in outright performance if you ride the Ather flat out for about 10 minutes or so, and you will notice it a little more than you would in the normal Ather 450s. In that sense, this is very similar to ride to the existing 450s as well. Really good fun around a track like this. I enjoyed riding it, I didn't want to stop. And it is definitely among the most sporty and rewarding of all the e-scooters out there. In a similar vein, it's still too small for tall riders. All those existing things continue, and that can only change when we have a new generation product, which may come in a couple of years' time. What will come much sooner though is Ather's upcoming family scooter that's going to launch in the first half of next year. All new platform, many learnings from this product, and I'm very excited to see what that one is about. Until then, we have the 450 Apex. Bookings are now open, deliveries should commence in March, and Ather will make as many of these as its customers wish to buy. It will be an exclusive product, it will be very expensive, it will be sold in quite limited numbers as a result, and I really can't sit here and tell you that 2+ lakhs on road is good value for a scooter. But if you want to be in that exclusive crowd, this thing will get you there.